A paralyzed teenager asked Prince for one final wish. But no one in that arena of 21,000 people expected what would happen during the song, a moment so impossible it made believers out of skeptics and turned a concert into a cathedral. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, 17 years old, spinal cord injury from a car accident 2 years prior, complete paralysis from the waist down. The doctors had been clear, clinical, final in their prognosis. She would never walk again, never dance, never feel her legs beneath her, or know the simple joy of standing without assistance. Her life would be measured in wheelchair inches, in the distance between accessible spaces, in the gap between what she remembered her body could do and what it would never do again. But Sarah had one dream left, one impossible, ridiculous, beautiful dream that her parents thought might kill her with disappointment, but couldn't bear to deny her. She wanted to see Prince perform live, wanted to be in the same room where his music filled the air, where his presence made everything feel possible, where for 3 hours the laws of physics and medicine and reality itself seemed negotiable. Her parents had written letters, dozens of them, to Prince's management, to the venue, to anyone who might listen, explaining that their daughter was dying not from her paralysis, but from the slow death of hope, from watching her future shrink until it was nothing but a series of medical appointments and adaptive equipment and well-meaning people telling her to accept her limitations. One letter reached Prince, just one out of dozens, and Prince, who received hundreds of such letters every month, who couldn't possibly respond to every tragedy, every desperate wish, every parent trying to give their dying child one moment of joy. Prince read Sarah's letter 3 times. Then he called the venue personally, made arrangements that his management said were impossible, insisted on details that made security nervous, and insurance companies refused to sign off. The night of the concert, Sarah was in the front row. Special accommodation, accessible space, her wheelchair positioned where she could see everything, where Prince would see her when he looked out at the crowd. Her parents sat on either side, holding her hands, trying not to cry before the show even started, because they knew what this meant to her, knew that after tonight, she'd have to return to a life where miracles didn't happen, and music couldn't heal, what medicine had declared permanently broken. The lights went down. 21,000 people screamed. Prince emerged in purple and gold, guitar slung low, that impossible smile that made you believe in magic even when you'd stopped believing in everything else. He opened with "Let's Go Crazy," the arena exploding with energy, bodies moving in ways Sarah's body couldn't move anymore, dancing with a freedom she could only remember, only mourn. But she was smiling, crying and smiling, because even if she couldn't dance, she was here, in the same room, breathing the same air, watching the man whose music had kept her alive through 2 years of surgeries and physical therapy and crushing disappointment transform the stage into something holy. 3 songs in, Prince stopped. The music faded. 21,000 people went quiet, confused, wondering if this was part of the show or if something was wrong. Prince stood at the edge of the stage, looking down at Sarah, looking at her wheelchair, looking at her face, which was trying so hard to be brave, to be grateful, to not show how much it hurt to be this close to transcendence, while trapped in a body that wouldn't transcend. "What's your name?" Prince asked, his voice soft through the microphone, intimate despite the thousands listening. "Sarah," she managed, her voice breaking. Her parents squeezed her hands tighter. "Sarah," Prince repeated, like he was tasting the name, learning it, making it sacred through repetition. "I got your letter. Your mom said you wanted to hear Purple Rain." Sarah nodded. Couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe, because Purple Rain was the song she'd listened to in the hospital after the accident, the song that played on repeat while she learned that her legs would never work again. the song that somehow made bearable, the unbearable truth that her life would be different, smaller, defined by what she'd lost instead of what she might still find. "I'll play it for you," Prince said, "but I need you to do something for me first." Sarah's parents looked at each other, nervous, protective, not understanding what Prince could possibly ask of their paralyzed daughter that wouldn't break her heart further. Prince set down his guitar, walked to the edge of the stage, then, to the horror of security and the shock of 21,000 people, he jumped down, not to the security pit, but directly in front of Sarah's wheelchair, knelt down until he was eye level with her, close enough that only she could hear what he said next. "Do you believe in miracles?" Sarah's tears were falling freely now. She wanted to say yes, wanted to believe. But 2 years of disappointment had taught her that wanting something didn't make it real, that faith couldn't heal what medicine couldn't fix, that miracles were stories people told to make tragedy bearable, not actual events that happened to actual people. "I don't know," she whispered honestly. Prince smiled, that smile that held sadness and joy in equal measure, that understood doubt wasn't the opposite of faith but its prerequisite. "That's okay. You don't have to believe. I'll believe for both of us." He stood, extended his hand to her, and 21,000 people held their breath because they understood what he was asking. What impossible, ridiculous, potentially cruel thing he was asking of a girl who couldn't walk, couldn't stand, couldn't do anything but sit in that wheelchair and watch life happen to everyone else. "Dance with me," Prince said. Sarah's mother started crying. Her father started to protest, started to explain that this wasn't possible, that their daughter couldn't dance, that asking her to try would only break her heart. But Sarah was already reaching up, already taking Prince's hand, already deciding that if this was going to break her heart, she wanted it broken by possibility instead of by never trying. Prince pulled gently. Sarah's body rose from the wheelchair, lifted by her father and venue staff who'd materialized to help. But it looked like magic, looked like Prince's hand alone was enough to defy gravity and medical science, and 2 years of doctors saying never. They supported her weight, held her steady, but Prince was looking at her face, not at the mechanics of how she was standing, looking at her like she was already dancing, like her body's limitations were irrelevant compared to what her spirit was doing. The band started playing Purple Rain. Slow, gentle, the opening notes that everyone in that arena knew by heart, that had soundtracked weddings and funerals, and every moment in between when humans needed music to say what words couldn't. Prince put one hand on Sarah's waist, kept the other holding hers, and they swayed. Just small movements, nothing that would strain her supported body or risk injury, but they were moving, together, to music, and if you squinted, if you let yourself believe, it looked exactly like dancing. Sarah was sobbing now. Not sad tears, not tears of pain or loss, or mourning for what she couldn't do, but tears of joy so pure they seemed impossible. Seemed like something that shouldn't exist in a world that also contained car accidents and paralysis and shattered spines. Because for 3 minutes, she was dancing. Actually, dancing with Prince, while 21,000 people watched and wept and bore witness to something that medicine said couldn't happen. The arena had gone completely silent except for the song. 21,000 people weren't cheering or singing along. They were crying, openly, unashamedly crying, because they were watching something sacred, a girl who couldn't walk, dancing. A moment of grace so profound it rewrote everyone's understanding of what was possible. A man famous for his genius, using that genius not to perform, but to give someone else the performance of their lifetime. Prince sang directly to Sarah. The lyrics about purple rain and pain and never wanting to be the cause of tears became something else in this context. became a promise that pain doesn't have to be permanent, that being broken doesn't mean being destroyed, that dancing isn't about legs working, but about spirits soaring. Halfway through the song, something impossible happened. Sarah felt at first a tingling in her legs that doctors had said she'd never feel again. Phantom sensation, she thought, wishful thinking, the brain creating false signals because it wanted so badly to believe in miracles. But the tingling got stronger, became warmth, became something that felt almost like her toes moved. Just barely. Just a twitch that no one could see but she could feel, could sense with the certainty of someone who'd spent 2 years knowing every inch of her paralyzed body, knowing exactly what could move and what couldn't. And her toes, which hadn't moved since the accident, which doctors said would never move again, moved. "Prince," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Prince, I can feel my legs." Prince didn't seem surprised, didn't react like this was impossible or miraculous or anything other than what he'd expected all along. He just smiled, squeezed her hand, kept dancing like this was exactly what was supposed to happen, like the universe was finally catching up to what he'd known all along, that faith, music, and love combined could accomplish what medicine alone never could. Sarah's parents saw it, the movement in her legs, small at first, then stronger, her knees bending slightly, her feet pressing down like they were trying to remember how to walk. The venue staff holding her felt it too, felt her body taking more of its own weight, felt muscles that had been dormant for 2 years, suddenly, impossibly waking up. The crowd was screaming now, not the normal concert screaming, but something primal, something that came from witnessing the impossible made real. 21,000 people watching a paralyzed girl's legs begin to move. Watching medical certainty dissolve in the face of something larger, watching what could only be called a miracle unfolding in real time. Prince finished the song, held Sarah steady as her legs shook with the effort of supporting weight they hadn't carried in 2 years. Then, slowly, carefully, he guided her through a single step, just one. Her right foot lifted, moved forward, planted. Then her left. She was walking, actually walking, supported by staff, barely able to bear her own weight, but walking. The arena exploded. 21,000 people screaming, crying, jumping, losing their minds because they'd just watched someone who couldn't walk take steps. They'd witnessed something that would be dismissed by skeptics, that doctors would later attribute to incomplete diagnosis, or gradual nerve regeneration or psychological factors. But everyone who was there knew what they'd seen, knew they'd witnessed something that transcended medical explanation. Prince helped Sarah back to her wheelchair, but she didn't want to sit down, wanted to stand, even if it was just for another minute, even if her legs were shaking with exhaustion and threatening to collapse, because she'd forgotten what standing felt like, forgotten the simple miracle of her own height, her own vertical existence in a world she'd been viewing from 3 feet lower for 2 years. "Thank you," she kept saying, over and over, holding Prince's hands like they were the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "Don't thank me," Prince said quietly, loud enough for Sarah to hear, but too quiet for the microphones to catch. "Thank yourself. Thank your faith. Thank whatever made you believe enough to reach up when I reached down. That's where the miracle happened. Not in my hands. In yours." He helped her sit finally. Her legs were exhausted, trembling, unable to support her anymore. But they'd moved. They'd felt. They'd done what doctors said they'd never do again. And everyone in that arena had seen it, had witnessed transformation that medical science couldn't explain, and faith alone couldn't create. But somehow, impossibly, the combination of music and belief, and 21,000 people willing to witness a miracle, had made real. Prince climbed back on stage, finished the concert. 3 more hours of music, But everyone who was there said the same thing afterward. Nothing else that night mattered. Not the hits, not the guitar solos, not the encores. What mattered was those 3 minutes when a girl danced who couldn't dance, when legs moved that couldn't move, when 21,000 people learned that miracles aren't divine intervention, they're human determination combined with faith, combined with someone willing to believe on your behalf when you can't believe for dime yourself. Sarah didn't walk out of the arena that night. Her recovery would take months more of physical therapy, of gradual progress, of setbacks and small victories. But she did walk out eventually, did dance at her wedding 5 years later, did send Prince a video of her taking her first unassisted steps with a note that said simply, "You were right. Miracles are real." Prince kept that video until the day he died. Never showed it publicly. Never used it for publicity or proof. Because the miracle wasn't about him. It was about a girl who believed enough to reach up. About parents who believed enough to let her try. About 21,000 people who believed enough to witness without skepticism the moment when impossible became possible. That's what Prince understood, that most people don't. Miracles aren't magic. They're moments when faith and effort and love and music all align perfectly. And for just a few minutes, the universe remembers what it's capable of, remembers that bodies can heal, that hope can manifest physically, that wanting something enough while someone believes in you can sometimes, impossibly, make it real. Medical science would later explain it. Incomplete injury, nerve regeneration, psychological factors, coincidence. But 21,000 people knew better. They'd been there. They'd watched a paralyzed girl dance. They'd witnessed her legs move after 2 years of stillness. They'd seen Prince look at someone who'd been told she had limitations and say, without words, that limitations are just starting points for miracles. And on that night, in that arena, 21,000 people learned that faith isn't believing in what's possible. It's believing in what's impossible, until possibility has no choice but to surrender to it.